Star Wars Galaxies. Now, it was a game made by Sony Online Entertainment and was released June 26, 2003. Now, with the game coming out around that year, it actually survived till it was shut down because of the release of Star Wars The Old Republic, and I guess there can only be one Star Wars MMO on the market at a time, I guess. I don't know. The community was dying, to say the least, though. But it survived to December 15th, 2011, like I said. And yeah, the first time SOE knocked it down was back when they introduced the CU upgrade, so like the combat upgrade, which simplified classes, made it the combat a bit different. Players didn't really like it, and then the final nail in the coffin for a lot of players was the new game enhancements update. Now, see, I started playing after the NGE update, so the NGE is more nostalgic for me, even though I have played on the pre-CU emulator. Anyways, I honestly prefer the NGE overall. I feel like if it's a more polished game in the end, even though I honestly do like the unique classes and customization that the pre-CU had. Now, I just kind of wish that that kind of mechanic was brought into the NGE for kind of a unique experience, but obviously that's never going to happen. This has to be, hands down, my all-time favorite Star Wars game of all time, and that's passing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Those are very close second and third games for me. But the biggest thing that brought me into the NGE universe and why I personally liked it a lot more was the community. The fact that I could design my own story. I met great people that I still keep in contact with to this day. And it's just so much content that most other RPG MMOs don't have. Like, for example, this game is pretty much a sandbox that is a very player-driven economy, although you can go out and do instances to grind like good loot and stuff like that, or grind hard enemies, see if they get any good drops, like any other MMO, because if they got rid of that, then or what are they really doing, right? But with it being a sandbox, it allows players to build their own cities, although there are NPC cities in the game, which Mos Eisley and the NGE is the hub right now in the Star Wars Galaxies Legends server. And if you go on to the Star Wars Galaxies emulator, it is Coronet on Corellia. Anyways, with the NGE, and the EMU too, because this player building and stuff, like player city building and so on, it's in both versions. You have to go out to build these buildings. You have to go out and collect resources first, right? So you have these classes that are dedicated to mining and building, essentially, right? So they gotta go out and survey the planets, any of these planets you can build buildings on, or almost everyone at least. But you gotta go out and you gotta get said resources for your buildings, your guns, your clothing, your armor, your starship parts. Pretty much everything has to be mined or gathered at some point in time. So you gotta go out, you survey, you mine, you get the stuff, you build more harvesters, you get the resources to build the stuff, like buildings, and so that player communities can thrive, guilds can thrive. The economy is very player focused. But the economy right now in the Legends server, at least, I mean, it's fairly new, so I'll give them a break, but it just feels like it's lacking. Like, things are awfully cheap or way too expensive, which I understand why some of the things are expensive, because they're rare. There seems to be a decent amount of planets, at least, like nothing compared to, say, Star Wars The Old Republic, because they got a decent amount of planets, but this is an older game, to say the least, and it's a big open world. It's not really a set path of a world like the SWG planets. But anyways, the list of planets they do have are Mustafar, Corellia, Talos, Tatooine, Dantooine, Dathomir, Naboo, Rory, Kashyyyk, Endor, Yavin 4, and Locke. So they do have a decent amount of planets, and all of them are unique in their own ways. And it feels almost like a new adventure on each planet you go to, although I don't really find too much of a difference between Corellia and Talos, and also Naboo and Rory. They're barely the same. But every other planet does feel really unique in its own ways, which I love. And moving forwards upon that, the game also offers a variety of races to choose from, which offer special abilities between, say, crafting perks, or dancing, entertainment perks, combat perks. And so these races, in no particular order, are Bothan, Human, Ithorian, Mon Calamarian, Rhodian, Celestian, Trandoshan, Twi'lek, Wookiee, and Zabrak. And, I mean, as a Star Wars person, you should, if you are a Star Wars person, that is, you should kind of understand, just by the names of all of them, that kind of what they are more geared towards, right? So, like, a Zabrak is more combat-orientated, and meanwhile an Ithorian or a Mon Calamarian are more gifted towards crafting. Expanding upon that, we also have a few other classes that are in the game that your race gets to specialize as. Like, whoever you choose, and then you got to choose a profession on top of that. And mind you, every race has access to the exact same professions. It's nothing unique, that other than them getting bonuses to said class. But we have a bounty hunter, a commando, a Jedi, a medic, an officer, a smuggler, a spy, a traitor, and an entertainer. Each has their own field of play and do feel relatively unique to the game. Like a bounty hunter, for example, has to go out and track down other players. He also plays a fairly similar to what I'd like to think the commando, although the commando does have access to heavy weapons like flamethrowers and acid guns and stuff like that, which is all fun in its own. The Jedi, explanatory. The medic gets to revive people and poison people. It's like this weird combo, right? And smugglers, I guess that's like, I know they deal with a lot of spice, so they're essentially the drug dealers of the Star Wars galaxy, and, well, spice dealers. Okay, it's family friendly, okay? And traders build shit, just kind of interesting stuff like that. Entertainers, they'll do dancing and music, and they can image design, so if you want to change your hairstyle or your face or your height or anything about how your character looks, you'd go to said entertainer to do that. In this game, it has space combat, which space combat I find is really, really unique, in the fact that you can get all of your ships, you gotta customize your ships. Space is huge, above every planet, okay? And my favorite part, at least when I played when the game was live, was I liked being a crew member aboard like a gunship. So if your gunship's under attack, you gotta man the guns. There's the pilot. You want an engineer or trader on the ship to help, because if you get hit and certain things start breaking, the guy's got to go around, the trader, engineer, whatever you want to call him. He's got to go through the ship and repair key systems to keep the ship running, which I thought was really cool, especially if you get into like a big PvP space fight. So if you look out the cockpit window, your ship's going everywhere, all your guns are going off, and everybody's fighting, and you're trying to essentially keep the ship alive, because if you get shot down, well, that sucks. You might lose. But we know about the instances, war zones, the Galactic Civil War, I find is one of my all-time favorite things to do in this game, besides crafting. Well, I know that sounds boring, but the Galactic Civil War is essentially like a player-made wave defense over 3 cities. So there's Vestine, I can't remember the other 2 offhand right now, but one's on Talos and the other one's on Naboo. And you gotta have people, traders, to help build the items so that you can build defenses and soldiers and turrets for defense, and on offense you gotta build your vehicles and your troops to go in, and the higher the level You can have like AT-ATs if you get enough points into one thing, and you want to try getting as many as possible to make your assault or defense that much better. But so you do all that, the entertainers come in, they buff, they kind of like give morale boosts to keep the troops ready to fight and whatnot. But then the invasion will start, and the players on defense pretty much got to defend against all the waves that the offense throws at them. Meanwhile, the offense, they come in and they got to try eliminating the defense. Pretty self-explanatory, except the players get to fight each other or the environment. They don't have to go into full-on PvP, although I like to say it's more respectful to everybody if you're able to be shot at too, along with all of your NPC companions. Otherwise, you just come in and steamroll, or you get shit on depending on how many people come with you. Although with all these things that I do like about the game, there's a few things that I honestly find is a little bit weird. Like, look at hills, for example. You run at a hill, it might be like a almost 90-degree angle. You're looking at maybe, say, like 80 degrees or something. It's almost vertical. Holy crap. And you'll just fly up it like it's nothing. Same with vehicles. You can pretty much drive straight up at times. And I find it funny, say, if you're holding, I find a handgun, and it looks like when you're riding on a speeder bike and you're using a handgun, so you didn't unequip it when you got on, and it looks like you're holding the wrong throttle, if you know what I mean. Which I honestly find is kind of hilarious. But there are graphic glitches. I mean, what do you expect? It's a player-driven environment, so it's not like I'm gonna hold that to too much of a critique, I guess. Like, I understand it's player-driven and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure that when it was live, it had said glitches too. Like, it was a thing that plagued the live version as well as the emulated version. I find the community can also be kind of toxic. I mean, more or less the PvP environment being a bit more toxic than anything. But I find a lot of groups, it's a lot like cliques and like in real life, where you get into the game, you can play for a countless amount of time, but nobody's ever gonna reach out to you and like, hey, you gotta join us and whatnot. It's just not a thing. I find like you gotta kind of put yourself out there, but at the same time, a lot of these groups, they're just small cliques that have played together for a while, and graphics are dated, although I'm pretty sure there are mods out there that can fix that problem. Some of the legacy quests, like the main quest line it gives you in the MGE, some of the things I honestly find are really bad. Like, some of them are, honestly, I find are like interesting and unique, but some of them are just really friggin' dumb. Like, who thought this idea would be entertaining to do? Like, I don't know. That being said, with legacy quests being bad, you can actually go out and make your own quests with the Chronicle system. So, I mean, that kind of makes up for it or takes away from it depending on how well you are at that. I personally like building quests, so it'll be something I do, and yeah. Now see, I think the community's awesome, and it only can get more awesome from here. As I'm playing the game, if you stumble across me or one of my characters, feel free to say hi, talk to me. Like, I want to establish a community, get the game rolling on how I want to play. Like, I like the role-playing scene, I like PvP, PvE is fun, I just like the whole game as a whole, and I find like the community just needs, I mean, it does pull together, but I just want to make an open community so that everybody can pretty much come into this, right? You want to play, there are various ways to get it. I mean, if you have discs or a digital copy, yeah, go for it. Or if you are a pirate, yeah, you can do that too. Although I am not the best pirate in the world, so I do wish you better luck than me in finding these files, because I may have given my computer AIDS at one point in time when I could not find my discs when I installed on my new PC. All in all, it's a very fun game. I really enjoy it. We'll just see how this goes. I am really liking the NGE server that it's got. It's really polished. It's got a lot more content than I even expected. So, give me a shout in game. We'll see how this goes. Peace out.